Hello everyone, we are back with the 7th series. We interviewed for you surf legend, world champion, surf photographers, shapers, and many more. We hope you like the series and please stay tuned for more amazing news. Mahalo. Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th episode of the 7th series of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us, 1988 world champion Barton Lynch. We discuss with him about surf, surfboard, being a world champion, and much more. Hello, Barton. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm in Sunset Beach, Hawaii, in my shed, which has become a bit of a office/studio for me in the last period of time as well. So, yeah, and I can hear my dog barking at someone.
And like everybody now is like seeing your shed. Basically, it's part of your enters into your house. After the commentaries and that you do. So it's becoming a very famous place. You can sell tickets to visit
come visit the shed. Yeah, it's amazing. We had the same experience as you were explaining to me about starting the podcast in the lockdowns. And when the world started to kind of move in that direction and it looked like we might, who knows when we were going to be able to travel freely again, we were here in Hawaii and we decided this would be the best place for us to be through that period of time. We've had the house here since 1989, so I've had it a long time, and it feels like home. And now it is home, and it's been so cool. And then it's a small old plantation-style home, just 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. And I was just like, I need somewhere to get my work done and to create. I had some projects I wanted to create, and so the shed became it, and here I sit quite often.
That's cool. That's cool. Maybe after this show, you can rent like Airbnb the shed for like one night.
And you know what? In all honesty, we had some people staying here that we didn't realize when we got married, and I spent my honeymoon in this shed. And we moved a mattress and turned it into a bedroom on the odd occasion when we'd have needed.
Okay. You see everything comes like connected.
Multi-purpose.
That's so cool. So we're going to talk about many things today, but the first thing that I would like to ask you is that I ask everybody is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
Oh, that's a big, broad question. The most important thing in surfing really is the gratification that you can be doing it, that you are free, that you are healthy, that you are able to lay on a surfboard and paddle out off terra firma into the great blue unknown. That's the gift, and that's enough, mate. Just to be healthy, free, able to go to the beach, paddle out off the shore, and even not get a wave. It's still good.
Yeah.
So I try to stay, in connection with my gratification. For that, having that opportunity. I'm so grateful for it, really am. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Like when you were saying that, the first thing that came to my mind is when I had the opportunity to interview Nat Young, Australian, like you.
Yeah.
And, he told me like, Alessandro, I'm getting old, and for me, even if I go out there and catch 5 waves per day, 3 days per wave, that's what keeps me alive,
Yeah.
And he told me my worst nightmare is like when I will not be able to do that anymore.
Yeah. I live in fear of two things, really. One is not having enough money to be free and make my own decisions. I see the value of money as freedom. I don't see it as consumer products or, whatever it is. I see the value of money as freedom, and then health is that other thing, and not being able to have that health. I'm what am I now? About 4.5 months. Well, I haven't surfed since the back end of January. So I'm at February, March, April, May, June, I'm at 5.5 months or whatever of not having surfed. And you realize, I've been surfing, paddling out with my kid. He's been surfing a lot. So I've been pushing him into waves and swimming and in the ocean and going, well, this is good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is so the recovery's been slow, but I've still been able to be active and get in the water, and not being able to do that, yeah, would not be. We have friends who moved to just recently, neighbors who moved to Salt Lake City, and I was just thinking to myself that I just could not think of anything worse. Moving away from the ocean for me, would be, that's like going to jail, unless I was going to a mountain and snow.
At least you can snowboard, or there is a surf pool around there somewhere. You know?
That is the new world, isn't it? That is the new world. They could be perfect waves just down the road in your neighborhood, maybe. You know. Yeah,
beyond the discussion that people have around is that surf pool better or somehow more interesting than ocean? And you have the radicals that are saying the ocean is the only way to surf. But if you live in the middle of America, in Ohio, and you don't have the ocean, then the only solution is the surf pool, right? So,
and I've surfed in the pools. They're a lot of fun, eh? It's like it's really not. So that's just a real bonus situation that we're getting to experience. Another one that in that sense that rivals that is jet skis, and the introduction of jet skis to the surfing world changed it more than maybe anything.
Yeah,
might have been one of the single greatest attribute or things that can contributed to the growth and evolution of surfing. Mate, we didn't know you could be out in oceans like that. People didn't think you could surf waves like that. People had no idea until you went out there on a jet ski and people towed them and were like, well, you can ride it. And now there's waves that were not paddleable that are. And so I love those technologies that give us more opportunity to surf.
And safety too, because jet skis are not only towing you in the wave, but also rescue you after, right? So
that so importantly, when you think about what people are doing, without good safety teams, they couldn't do what they do, or you could die. You still could die, but a safety team is a massive contributing factor. Yeah.
So I think like the conversation today we will explore a lot of things because my fixed agenda will not be respected for sure. But once you are talking about being independent with the money, that is very important. I think one thing to be really free and independent is to leverage on the community that you create around social media, right?
Yeah, for sure. I haven't really. I've now, in the last few months, felt and connected with that community element of my social media. I got rid of Facebook just so, there was too many things going on, and I just wanted to concentrate on Instagram for a bit. And I have my followers has grown enormously in the last couple of months from 15 to 50. And we have these conversations and these interactions that are so positive and so supportive and so freaking cool. And it just helps with that understanding that, hey, I'm not alone. There are people that feel like me, share my opinions, And so that part of it as a first base is really a very cool thing. And that's kind of where I'm at with that kind of process. The commercialization of it and using it for a bit more business or commercial reasons is something that I suppose is of interest as well, because you're the new magazine, you're the new video, you're the new whatever it is. You're a source of media yourself, and you can do it because of the technologies of the time, in a low cost, low production values, and I think it's so wonderful. It puts this opportunity in everybody's hand.
Exactly.
And any young surfer coming through can be their own PR agent, be their own promotions department, create their brand and who they are, and let the world understand them and open themselves up to let the world in to know them. And I think that's so valuable and so cool, in the midst of sort of, you hear negativity and cynicism around social media. But for me, beside the trolls who just want to argue, and there's them in every group, right? They're everywhere.
Of course.
That's just the nature of the thing. But in general, I find it a really positive experience. Yeah. I've recently did I just released 20 video lessons, kind of 20 of the most important coaching lessons that I tend to teach the most, the first 20 of those, and put them on called them signature sessions, and put them on my website. And I suppose the idea there is to let people who are following you know that they're there, and sort of use your social media to promote that they're there and create a commercial opportunity out of that work that you've done and the asset you've created. So it's really interesting that you can do that for yourself and create jobs. I've never really worked for anyone.
You become your own producer, if you want to say, right? And what is interesting is that the way you use, for instance, social media, and you create community, like you have a lot of projects, token blog, show, you have like a connection that you have with people, and that goes beyond just like posting a picture in Instagram. Because if you post a picture in Instagram, you're looking for likes. People appreciate you. Of course, for instance, like there is only good pictures of surfing in social media. There is no like wipeout.
Yeah.
Unless, like everybody's like the best surfer ever. But if you use it in a different way and you create engagement, with the community will support you, and then you can leverage it or not. You can let's say, enlarge group of friends, as you said, on which I'm sure there is one that doesn't agree with you and want to argue, but that's kind of bar, when you're in front of a pint of beer and, there is always somebody that wants to argue, and that's fine, You can capitalize on it commercially, and maybe asking for brands or other people that think the same as you to join. To increase that community, to develop that community without saying, this show is brought to you by, I don't know, just a brand. And that's, of course, is just a transaction, monetary transaction. It's more like creating meaningful thing, which I think you already do without asking for money, which is great,
I suppose we live in very interesting times, very historic times. Where people will reflect on this moment in time and what people did and didn't do, what people said and didn't do, how people behaved and how they didn't, as we may look back at, situations like Nazi Germany and situations like that. And there'll be times where they'll look back at these times that we've been living through, and I just don't want there to be confusion as to who I am and how I feel about things. I really rather, while the rest of the world is closing down and not sharing themselves and living in a lot of instances and circumstances, they're living lies that aren't them, that aren't true. They're living it to keep their lifestyle, to keep their paycheck, to keep, feed the family, all of that stuff. And I'm not criticizing people for making their choice. And it's at points everyone's got to make a choice, but for me, I don't really have a choice because I've got to be me. I can't. What do I do? I just lie. I pretend. I create this false persona so that I can get more likes or get more. It's not for me. It's really I've just got to be true to myself and live in that, and if I can, and it, we have seen in other areas, in other sports, and other things, people, and particularly in the science and the medical professions, people be censored and taken out of and off things, cancelled as they call it, right? There is a culture of cancelling people that don't agree with you, which I find abhorrent. I find that the ultimate insult to freedom, to democracy, to respect, and to the opportunity to have a broader conversation. So that all of those things that have been going on, I think that's where that community have come together, because I do try to, speak my truth respectfully. I do try to let people know how I feel, how I see it, what's my perspective, without it coming across as me telling people that I am right or they're wrong. You know what I mean? Which is, I don't do that. Everyone's got their own opinion.
Yeah, totally. I was listening to something that you said like a few days ago. Being a good person is being a good servant, right? And I guess because you are genuine, because you're a good person, people follow you and interact with you.
Yeah, I mean, and a good person's a very broad term in itself. And what is a good person? But to me, the definition of a good person is someone who has that respect and gratitude for the opportunity to be alive. You know what I mean? Just start right there. You're alive. You've got off the bench and you're in the game. You know what I mean? You might not have even got in the game. You could have been sitting on the bench and never got a chance to be a human being. But and so I just, that's, to me, that's what a good person is someone who's grateful, respectful, and is open to other people being different to them. This whole need for everyone to be the same and think the same is so unhealthy. It's so not what our environment and what we are. We're biodiverse, and the more biodiverse we are, the healthier everything that's living is. And I feel like that goes for opinions and ideas and religions and languages and currencies. You remember when you're a kid and you travel to Italy, say, and you get some Italian currency, and it looks so different, and it's like treasure. And you go to another country and theirs is completely different. And then all of a sudden, all of those European currencies are the euro.
Yeah.
And the individuality and the personality of all of those little countries has the potential to be lost. That's what I feel like. I love that the differences that we all share, that even the ones where we disagree on stuff, still good. Keeps the balance,
But as you said before, it's like now people become, as we said at the beginning, that people are becoming their own producer in a certain way, but also people becoming censors. And that's bad in that side, because, at the end of the day, you have your own truth and you don't want to explore different opinion, and you are stuck in this tunnel and this narrow, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah, and that's when you get the comments on a post where people don't agree with you and let you know it. It doesn't really bother me. I'm happy for that. I welcome that. That's fine. To let us know what you think, mate. Get it off your chest.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing anyway. Getting it off my chest when I'm doing the video. So, it's I find it's been a really wonderful kind of experience, to be honest. It's really, I'm a bit old school where I'm slow to things. I don't, you know what I mean? But in this case, and say it's a jet ski and the ability to tow surf a 20-foot wave, I go, well, maybe we can accept that technology.
Yeah, of course.
Selective acceptance.
With great pleasure, and whatever makes us catch more waves, it's okay.
The wave pool.
Exactly. We take everything.
Yeah, keep that technology. Yeah,
exactly. So let's go back to the shed. And so how is it going? The commentary of the I saw you you were commenting J-Bay last week.
We did. It was an experiment. You know what I mean? And to our production conversation, I was like, can I just sit there in my shed watching the commentary with my phone there and it be on Instagram Live, and I watch it and I talk to it and they talk to me, and I do it that way. I was like, maybe you can, maybe it is that easy. And we did the experiment, just did Kelly Slater's heat, and I got Jamie, my mate, to come over, and it was fun. It was really cool. And the thing that I would hope is that, you know, I don't want people to think like I'm pirating WSL or I've got any vindictiveness, or I don't want the job. You know what I mean? I don't want to be traveling the tour, going to all the events if I've got to be someone who I'm not.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So in that sense, if I can do something that brings another, because I'm always positive about it. I love the sport. I love professional surfing. I love what it's given me. And before I do anything, any commentary day, anything, I sit there and I always say to myself, you know, this isn't about you. Just remember, this isn't about you. This is about your sport and about the surfers and you illuminating them. So leave your shit at home. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So, because it's not about me. And so I hope that even doing the odd heat here and there, like call it one heat a day, where we pick a heat a day during the event window and we do one heat, and I get a friend over and we call it. I hope that can be seen as a positive thing.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, cool. He's actually, and I'm bringing fans and I'm talking up their sport and I'm doing good things for WSL and the sport, rather than it be looked at as something negative or bad. You know what I mean? That's the kind of fine line, I suppose. And I just hope that people, and that's why we didn't do finals, or, you know what I mean? We wanted to kind of be respectful and just do the test, but I think the test worked.
Yeah, even WSL joined.
Yeah, I saw that too. I didn't see that till the next day. I wish I saw it that night. And you learn that there's that opportunity to pay attention to the comments, communicate with those guys more than just the webcast screen. All of that. It was a good experience. And then we did a preview show before that event, and I'm going to do another preview show before Kopu that we sort of started thinking about, and that was really cool too. So it's nice to kind of maintain that connection. The Stoke Bloke Show, which is what I've called my podcast that I've started doing, is going to be much broader than surfing. You know what I mean? And the first step, I'm not just going to do webcast, like, you know, a heat or a preview show. They're kind of not my focus at all. My focus is more on life, philosophy, Stoke. And the first episode, I shot the first kind of real episode of the Stoke Bloke Show yesterday, wow. and it's on Stoke. It'll be out any day now. We'll be releasing any day now. And it's about Stoke and what Stoke is. How do you get it? How do you manifest it? How do you share it? What is it? You know, so we do a whole show in and around that concept of Stoke and how that emotion, that feeling that's like in ancient Hawaii, they call it mana, right? That's the power of nature, that's the power of earth, that's the power of you, is that stoke that you can fuel and fire in yourself if you're living your dreams.
Exactly. Right? And, you know, it keeps contributing in adding up to the community that we were talking before, you know, because people can follow you to the podcast, people can follow you live or just swiping through Instagram. And, you know, like here in Italy, there is no direct coverage of surf, you know.
Right.
Not that I know. But, you know, I was listening to you and Jamie Mitchell and without the TV. And actually it was entertaining as well. I was imagining, you know, like all the turns and, you know, it was...
without the TV?
Without the TV.
and, you know, in my mind, I'm so happy to hear that, and I want to know more, because in my mind, I grew up as a kid when there was the radio. And people listened to the football or listened to the sport on the radio, even the cricket. On with the he's running in now, throws the ball's hit, you know. And I wondered exactly that, whether it could stand almost as a radio show more than anything. You know what I mean? In that way.
It was.
Yeah, and it was okay like that?
It was. Actually, I really like it. And, I was imagining, like, if I was on the radio, I was imagining those turns and, it was cool. Cool enough.
Oh, that's great feedback. Thanks for that, Alessandro. I appreciate that, mate.
And I got to see the images, the videos after all, and I connected the two, so it was quite interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Another thing that, like going into current modern surfing, if you want to say, not modern, like today, surfing, one thing that I was listening, it's like the comparison that you were doing about the Australian surfers in the 80s and the Brazilians of today. And actually, I found it very, very interesting. And in effect, if you look at the World Tour now, it's Australia against Brazil, right?
Mm. Yeah, those young Ethan Ewing and Jack Robinson have kind of stood up and got themselves into the battle with the Brazilians. It's great to see because that Brazilian generation is phenomenal, historically good. And I suppose when you look at generations, it would appear to me when you look at generations, there seems to be sort of three names that get remembered. So if you kind of go to the 70s and, you go, or even the 60s, you might go late 60s, whatever, you go Eddie Aikau, Barry Kainai, Mooney, there's a Reno Abalera. Then it moves, out of kind of Mickey Dora, earlier generations. But since pro surfing has existed, the 70s you've kind of got Robert Bartholomew, Sean Thompson, Mark Richards.
Yeah.
You go to the 80s and you've got Tom Curran, Tom Carroll, and Mark Occhilupo. They will stand the test of time. Those three, they are three of the very best surfers that has ever existed to this day.
Very, very style from actually very, very different perspective. I agree.
Totally, from Tom to Curran to Occhi, like all so individual, all so their own style, and those guys will be remembered forever. And obviously, you go Kelly Slater, Rob Machado, Shane Dorian.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go, Andy Irons there for his, and then Joel and Mick Fanning. But there's those kind of, the three is where, and then you go sort of at the moment, you go Italo, Gabriel, Felipe. And there's that three pack that is most days on another level.
What's your favorite memories of those days on the 80s with the Australian surfers? Like they said some names, of course, you might say.
Yeah. Well, for me, just to be a part of it.
Okay.
Right. And I look at those three names, right? And then I add Martin Potter, Gary Elkerton, Derek Ho, Damien Hardman.
Yep.
And I go, well, you're at 7 world, like incredibly talented. We kind of came in at the end of the Mark Richards, Sean Thompson. We competed against all of those guys and learned from them for a few years. And then we had our generation and then Kelly's and Machado and Dorian's. The momentum generation came, and so they were kind of the three stages of it. But to be a part of that one in the 80s and actually win a world title in that field of people and get a chance to have a voice, to be someone, to give yourself a life and create live your dreams given the standard of the opposition. Is maybe what I'm most proud of, is that I was actually able to kind of mix it with people of that level. That's kind of a dream, really. I go, yes, you were there, mate. You had to go. You kind of, you faced up, you fought hard, you did everything you could to get your bit. You got a bit. And to me, that's just freaking wonderful. It's so cool, that happened. I used to tell people I was going to do it. You know what I mean? I used to tell them I was going to do it, and somehow I did, which is even more, So there's so many great moments of particular, situations of all across all competing and nightlife and just all different, psychological games and all the different parts of it that were incredible. media, or all, being so engaged with the media for so long. I've been doing interviews for, over 40 years. And I've been behind the camera. I've produced television shows. I've been involved quite deeply in that media side of stuff. So I have an understanding. It's funny that all of the things that I did in my life kind of led me to the point where, in a way, I'm there commentating the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're there and you're like, shit, this is a big responsibility, mate. You got to share your sport culture, the thing you love, with the world. And they say that 95% of the people watching have never seen it all the time.
Probably.
And you're like, you got to share this thing. And it was like, whoa. And then I came out of the backside of doing that job. It was an emotional experience, especially given all the COVID stuff in and around it, and testing and quarantines and, weird human behavior all over the place. It was a really emotional experience. And then to kind of get out, finish it, and I got so much positive feedback, and it felt like I did a good job.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, incredible. So I'm on the 9th of August, that's my 59th birthday. Wow. So in actual fact, I start my 60th year, right, on that day. And I'm still doing interviews with people.
So it's something that it never stops. Will never stop.
And you've got 50,000 followers on Instagram that you communicate with and build a community, and you've commentated the world's best moments in the sport and the Olympic Games, and I've got a video game coming out, Barton Lynch Pro Surfing 2022, and I mean, I've never played one, right? A video game. And they came to me and said a few years ago, hey, we'd like you to help us with this project we're doing. We're going to create a surfing video game. And at that point, I was, call it 55. And I was like, well, no one's going to talk to me about doing a video game again. We may as well get involved with this and have a go. They said, we want to call it Barton Lynch's Pro Surfing 2022. I went, surely you can get a better name than me. Like, please. And they go, no, we're using the Madden NFL model. And John Madden was a player, a coach, and a commentator. And you're a world champion, a player, commentator, and a coach, and the voice of surfing in a lot of ways. And we think you're the perfect guy for it. And all of a sudden, you've got a video game, and you're nearly 60. You go, this is just, it's a peculiar trip, Here's a good story, I suppose, that's relevant in a lot of ways to the posts that I've been doing about life and your own learning. I recognised my dad died he said to my mum, when my father rang my mum before he was about to start his journey home from work, he's a policeman, a motorbike cop. And so he's about to ride home, and he rings my mum. And that day we'd been out we got a boat, a tinny, just a little, and me and my dad and his 3 boys went out on the tinny on the Pittwater and went fishing. And he said to my mum, it's the best day. It was the best day of my life, mate. And I'll see you soon. And he has the motorbike accident on the way home and doesn't get home. And so the way that kind of comes through to me as a young kid is that your dad died on, the best day of his life. He called it best days. And so in me, there has always been this thing where I want it good, but when it was too good, I was scared. I was scared of it getting better. And there was this let it get to a point that was acceptable. And I could accept it, and that was enough. And I go, okay, good. Let's just sort of stay right there. And stick it up to, and I had to, when I realized that I had that limiting behavior built in me from that emotional experience as a young kid, I had to sort of start to become aware of that and started saying to myself, well, it could just keep getting better. Yeah. It could just keep getting better. It doesn't have to get worse. It doesn't have to go that way. It's not, that's scarring. That's not reality. And you need to kind of let it get away, let it keep getting better if it could. And I feel like that in a lot of ways, that conscious decision to allow that to be, as well as, other things, other work you do on yourself to understand yourself and help to make those things just keep getting better. Life just keep getting better. So I feel like that was a really good answer. And that for me is kind of how I sit here about to start my 60th year. And I suppose in ways still relevant, still involved, still engaged, still enjoying, still loving, sharing, all of that stuff.
I guess what you're saying is very important. Like we should all get better. We should all improve, but also we should be able to be content of what we have because you see,
it's such an interesting that balance in that conversation, that yin and yang, or that feminine and masculine, or that balance in that is your drive and determination to achieve more, to experience more, to live more. I suppose being injured, I get that. I recognize that, but I'm still. So much of my happiness comes from productivity.
You have to do something.
I enjoy being productive, mate. Whether it's going and filling the jerry cans with petrol so they're all full, or cleaning around the yard, or I'm always kind of sort of working on the body of work that is your life. And I like to look at it like that. It's like a body of work, your life. And when it's over, there's this body of work of things that you've done, achieved, shared, been, experienced. And I really, in that sense, I want to create a good body of work.
Let's go back to 1988.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a question I always ask to when I have the privilege to interview a world champion. What does it take to be a world champion? Like then and today, is it the same? How do you see it?
Yeah, I see it's the same. It's an orchestration where you're orchestrating on yourself, with yourself performing, but the focus on trying to be the best you that you can be physically, mentally, spiritually, all those. You're exploring yourself. You're using surfing to do it, and you're trying to find those perfect moments of synergy with Mother Nature and the ocean and with yourself and that wave, and have all of those elements come together into a legendary performance of excellence. And to me, I love that. I think that's such an honourable journey. Sure, there's judges. Sure, that in competition, but what I recognise, having been retired for 25 years, maybe 97. So 2007, 2017. We had 2023, 24 years. I've been off tour, and life has been better off tour than on, most probably. I don't look at the tour days and go, they were the best. They were good. They were sick. It was incredible. It's amazing. It was a gift, and I'm so grateful. But it's every day since Nelly's been that too. It's been just a wonderful journey to live.
It's different, right? It's just different, but
yeah. And the surfing, the connection to surfing still has that passion and resonance for me. Still, I love that feeling of laying the rail over, and when you perform nicely. When you're out the back and you just have a feeling that something's going to do something, and you don't know, but you have this connection to the moment, to nature and the ocean, and you position yourself to be just right. And you're like, oh, I'm in the perfect spot. And you don't know how or why how that happens, but when you put yourself in the perfect spot and it's yours, and you swing around and start that paddle and no one else is going, no, that one's yours. And it's all there standing up beautiful. You feel so special. You feel so lucky. You're like, and then, you ride it. And then when you cut off those moments, you can be shaking and trembling. You're so stoked. You're so jumping out of your skin with yourself. Like, there was that one paddling back out. Like it brings out that kid, like an interesting thing. It's like that balance again, isn't it? You know, you were talking about that balance between drive and motivation, and then contentment and happiness in any moment, and how somewhere there's a balance of those two that creates greatness. But maybe the contentment in self comes after the greatness. And with the personal torture that can be a experience as a competitor, like I coach kids who are, they're going to ISA games, missing qualifying for the Olympics, but not getting in because there's two other French people in the team who have already qualified. And although you've qualified, and if you're from another nation, you'd make it, but you can't because you did. And then they've miss out by one place of qualifying for the world tour. And like these heartbreak moments that are so difficult for young people to go through. And you're like, hey, just you only lose, quit. Just keep going. You don't lose. Just keep going. And it's a difficult road to success. It can come easy, but for most people, the road journey of self-discovery and understanding is a challenging road. And a lot of people quit before they quit, and just it's because it's too hard, that road, to keep facing up to failure.
It's not only physical ability.
No,
it's mental.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah. I feel like that's where it is. It's the strength in here to be able to front up. And some people don't like losing. None of us do, but the best are ready to chance that every time they paddle out.
No, of course. And that is the definition of stop, which you are very, very curious to see the first episode, of the podcast you wanted before. Because that definition is you cannot define. You cannot define.
Yeah.
Only surfing and people that do a certain sport, because you can be stuck and do snowboard at the same time.
Totally.
And I think, being a surfer, relatively young sport, I think the fact that today there are more coaches allows young people to have a better mindset, a better approach. If I think about maybe big potential surfer of the past, didn't succeed, didn't win the world title because they didn't have the mind for it, and they were just young kids thrown into the world, and they had no support. While now, people, other coaches, they can always go back to the elders and ask for suggestions and guidance, and which I think at that time, it was maybe quite difficult to have,
Yeah, and because we lived in a time where there wasn't enough food at the table for everyone eating, and if you wanted to get some food, you had to be willing to get in there, mate, because someone was going to take it if you didn't. And so, and that we came from a scarcity time, and it creates a scarcity mindset where you fight each other for what's there. And I think the Americans and that momentum generation were the first rich pro surfer generation.
Yeah.
You didn't really need to win and lose to eat, So that was, and now they can travel with their family, with coaches, with doctors, with the whole quivers, people carrying your boards, whatever it is. It's evolved a long way. But interestingly enough, back to your original question, I still think it takes the same stuff to win. It's so different in so many ways, but it's still the same. Still that bloke who wins, really hungry, really determined. It's really important. They're willing to face failure, and they're ready to just be committed to the thing. And I see that. I love when I see that in young people. That's like you see it in Jack Richardson,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And was there a meeting with one of these surfers that was particularly meaningful for you?
I've had so many meaningful experiences. When I was, the first real meaningful experience I had with a pro surfer was Terry Richardson, who was the Australian goofy footer, and Richo was my hero. And Surfing World magazine had done an incredible interview on him. And he was my hero. I loved everything about him. His style was so good. He lived just down the road, an hour away from where I was, so you could connect that way. And I was in my school uniform, what we call WAG, influencing school to go to the Coca-Cola Surfabout, the event. And I was on the side of the road hitchhiking, and this blue panel van pulls up to pick this kid up. I look in the window winds down, and I look in the window, and had a guy here, and driving the car is Terry Richardson.
Wow.
And he looks at me and he goes, "Where are you going, Grom?" And I go, "I'm going to see you, mate." And he goes, "Jump in." And I jump in the back of the panel van. I'm laying on the mattress in the back of my hero's car amongst his surfboards, going to the contest.
Wow.
and I spend the day with him, little kid just sitting next to him, watching him get ready, watching him surf his heats. Spent the whole day, and then he drove me back home when he was on his way home and dropped me off where he picked me up in the evening.
Priceless experience. Priceless.
Mate, you know what I mean? Like, so I've had such incredible experiences over the years. I remember sitting here, not so many, and this might be one of them that's more recent, but I was sitting in my room, and in America, when someone rings me, the name comes up on the television.
Yeah.
Of who it is, right? So I'm sitting there, and it's like 8 o'clock at night, 8:30, I'm on my own. The phone rings, and on the television, I look and it says Larry Birtle.
Go away.
But I don't know Larry Birtle.
I know.
But I've reached out. I'm at Hurley, Australia, and they had a photo of Larry Birtleman on the beach in Japan with his Pepsi spray board, playing it like a guitar, and they were throwing it out. And I went, hey, I'll take that. I'll take that one. And I reached out to him on Facebook and said, "You don't know me, but you're one of the greatest inspirations in my life. You're a real hero. I'd love to meet you and show you this photo I got." And so this phone, it's 8 at night, and the phone rings, and it's him. Wow. Tell me how he got my number. He goes, "It's Larry Birtleman." He goes, "What are you doing?" "Get some beers and come see you." So I get to sit there with Larry Birtleman and I, just the two of us on my deck, share a six-pack and just hear all these stories. He's the first guy to have sprays, the first guy to have logos, the first guy to have, he was ahead of his time, and the way he surfed was ahead of his time. And so I got to sit there and spend this amazing evening with the rubber man, Larry Birtleman, and just scratch my head going, "No way. What's this?"
It's happening for real.
Happening for real, mate. And me, this skinny little kid from Mossman who didn't even live at the beach, created a career and a life in surfing all my life. And I've met and got to share times with all of my heroes.
Wow.
All of the greatest surfers in the world I've been influenced by, I've spent time with, from the great George Downings to Nat Young, Midget Farrelly. I was close with Midget Farrelly before his death, and I used to have some amazing time with him, sharing conversations and learning from the elders, like you said before. To me, that's so important that you have those people to look up to. Maybe that's because I didn't have a father as well, that I feel so strongly about that parenting that surfing gave me. Yeah, that it became, like your dad became like your family, like your parents, like your peer group was your dad. I was like, that surfing became such a big part of my life, and still to be here and have it. And it's fish, all right. And so good. Yeah, amazing, man.
It's amazing that it's true that the feeling of family is super important. And like people you meet usually doing surfing, the same friends for life.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter our nationality, doesn't matter our gender, doesn't matter our politics, our religion. Surfing is the thing that connects us. And it's so powerful for us to have that in life. I'm sure golfers have it, or tennis players have it, or, in communities, all of the communities have that connection with each other, and they create that energy that is a life source. That is the bay, like you said, like with that community around you, I feel like that here in Hawaii too. That concepts in Hawaii of ohana and family is it's a powerful thing, mate. It's a real core foundation of Hawaiian culture and community that is just so powerful. And that's what you learn. In Australia, we never really got to learn too much about the Aboriginal culture because it was stolen by the British and they camouflaged everything. Right? And you're living in the country with one of the oldest living peoples ever, and you don't even ask them how. You don't even ask them for advice. You don't even, you know what I mean? So when I always felt that about Hawaii, that connection to culture and heritage and your ancestors and that universal energy that is life, that is so, I love being around today. I love that being around people who bring that connection to themselves and their truth.
You know, when we talk about surf culture, you know, it's we spoke about Olympics a couple of times, you know, and when I spoke with Fernando Aguirre during the Olympics, he told me, Alessandro, my main goal is to share surf culture. It's not to share surf as a sport, because there's much more behind. And so for that reason, he created the village. Unfortunately, that village cannot be seen by people, right? And so maybe it's the surf culture that keeps us all together with the stock and everything that goes around. You know, like people that have the same, they like the same thing you like. They want to do the same thing you do, and so maybe that's it's the glue that keeps us all together.
Totally.
We're gonna finish this interview with a short Q&A session. So I ask everybody the same questions. Even Greg Noll answered to this. Yeah. So
how many questions?
6, but very quick.
6.
Please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay.
Okay. I'm scared.
No, it's very easy. Best surfboard that you ever ridden?
It's a crossover between my 7.6 George Downing, a 6.0 Greg Webber, and a 9.6 Rusty that's right there above my head.
Rusty Miller.
Yeah, Rusty Priestendorf.
No, Rusty Miller. Okay.
Yeah. So I those three stand out very strongly. It's hard for me to pick one.
Okay, fantastic. Who is the best shaper of all time?
Well, I suppose, Ed, with the passing of the great Dick Brewer in recent times, you know, I would have to pay my respects and say to this point in time, he has been one of the most influential shapers of the modern era.
And, you know, like, there's been the boardroom show, like in California, and he was there before I got sick, and it was just like amazing, the respect that everybody was giving to him, from like Patros to Christensen to whoever was there. It's like such an important figure.
Yeah, exactly. It represented such a romantic, amazing time in surfing, you know. You see the photos of him sitting with Jerry Lopez and Reno, and they're all in lotus positions and standing on their heads, and there's like this positioning of surf culture at that time.
I always wanted to interview him, and he replied to me in Instagram, before you interview me, you must interview somebody that learned from me. And unfortunately, I didn't have the time to do both. So
gotcha.
I have an opportunity maybe in the future to interview somebody that learned from him how to shape and how to be like the man that he was.
You know who would be amazing would be Jim Yarbrough.
Yeah, I'm in touch with him. He tells me, I'm busy, but I will do
it. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, mate. He's got that, you know, he knows, you know, he's right there. He's the one.
Yeah, excellent.
One of the ones he saw. Yeah.
Personal question, your favorite song?
Smoke on the Water, Deep Purple.
Not bad.
And then, you know, my favorite genre of music is punk rock, and I love the music and the moment and the politics and the power of this late 70s. that whole punk rock time was powerful, mate, even to the simple kind of commercial crass God Save the Queen from the Sex Pistols, London Calling from the Clash, all the way through to a lot of other stuff. But I think the first album I ever bought was Cosmo's Factory, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I bought that with my own money, saved up, and then Smoke on the Water was the next song.
Great song. And I agree with you. Like the punk rock scene at that time, CGVG, the Ramones, and whatever went in that place, it was like beautiful. Favorite surf spot?
Well, it's so hard to me to think like Hawaii. Most probably. I love just, so from that way, a kilometre is Velzy Land through to Rocky Point Pipeline that way. There's this little stretch that I very rarely have to go anywhere else to get waves, and especially through those winter months. I do love Indo, but I would say just the locals.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to mention names either.
Don't get in trouble. Don't get in trouble. It's fine. Favorite surfer of all time?
Most probably Mark Occhilupo. I think Ocky's surfing is just so incredible. His interpretation of situation is still better than most. So for me, but obviously Wayne Lynch as a young kid was one of my first heroes, and then Terry Richardson that I told you the story about, through to Jerry Lopez and that goofy foot lineage of those early days of me as a kid. That was powerful. I really, really looked up to that. But it's as Ock has been and still is and was, I'd put him there.
Last question has nothing to do with surf, or surf culture. I would like to know your best relationship advice.
Is that relationship with the opposite sex, or just relationship with women together?
Everybody gives the answer that wants. It can be a romantic relationship. It can be a relationship with the ocean. It can be a relationship with a friend. It can be, with the war. Everybody gave me like a different ones.
Well, I believe that you get sent the people and the energy that you need to challenge you so that you grow. Yeah. And so in relationships, you can't be quick to judge the situation from what it's giving you, because a lot of the time, the ones that drive you mental and really get under your skin, but it's just aggravating, but it's wonderful on the other side of the coin, and you go through a sort of roller coaster of emotion with that person or relationship with them. I feel like they're the ones that I've learned a lot about myself, because I've been challenged by those people. And while I haven't liked it, it's been good for me. And you don't always know what's good for you.
No,
so, for me, I try to just accept those relationships, accept those people, and try to get out of my own way of fucking it up.
Why not?
You know what I mean? Because it's, we're all complex creatures, man.
I know.
Thank you so much for being with me on the show today. And it's been amazing. And I look forward to talk to you very soon.
Hey, I appreciate you and your work. Congratulations on over 100 of these podcasts, mate. It's an amazing contribution. It'll be, again, a body of work that you've done that tells surfing story. And you can sit there and go, look what I did, mate. Epic.
I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there for like people. We need to preserve surf culture. That's the...
Yeah, I'm with you, mate.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All the best, brother. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!